very good afternoon to everyone. So allow me to share my screen. Okay, all set. Can you guys see my screen? If you can, maybe type down a yes in the chat bar. Okay, great. So today's topic is one that I've actually given multiple times. And I realized that every time when I give a topic on sleep, right, I tend to struggle between wanting to explain the science of sleep to my audience, or to simply just give them some tips on how to sleep better. Because obviously, to me, both are equally important. The easier way would to just give you a few tips on how you can sleep better tonight, and that's it. But I also feel that if I simply do that, perhaps I can just forward you some Google link, isn't it? So I believe that the biggest problem that people have now with regards to sleep is that they really don't understand the science of sleep. So in the past, when I give talks about sleep, I tend to give very scientific kind of discussion about sleep. Today, though, I will try to limit all my science-related discussion and really help you guys with your sleep issues. So as you listen to my presentation later, if you have any sleep-related questions, any doubts, or you have some personal sleep challenges, you can type it down. And if you are a bit shy, you don't want other people to know that you have difficulty falling asleep, you can actually message to me directly. So in your Zoom chat, there is actually a way for you to just send message to me specifically. So feel free to do so, right? But again, because sleep is such a neurologically related phenomena, I will need to include some scientific concepts, but I'll make sure that I'll explain to you clearly. Okay, let's begin. Now, so the first question that I want to address is this. This is something that I often hear people dismissing, right, about sleep. So people tend to say that, isn't it normal for people to have a bit of sleep difficulty, right? Everyone will have a bit of sleep difficulty now, every now and then. What is the big deal of it about it? To that, my answer is yes, sleep is normal because most people have it. When we think about the concept of normal, something is normal if most people share the same experience, right? Is it normal for you to have stomach ache after you eat very, very spicy food? Like a lot of people go through that, right? So we consider that as normal. So yes, sleep is normal because a lot of people have that. However, from a health perspective, having difficulty falling asleep is actually not normal. Because if you think about it, right, for a lot of people, they have difficulty maintaining awake. Like if you are really, really tired, you are really, really sleepy, even if you try to keep yourself from falling asleep, you actually can't. This means that falling asleep when we are sleepy is actually normal. Instead, if you have difficulty falling asleep when you feel sleepy, that is actually an issue. So notice, I use the term feeling sleepy. Feeling sleepy is a bit different from feeling tired. You can feel tired for maybe doing a whole day of labor, right? You have been carrying stuff, you have been running, your body is exhausted, tired, that's tired. But sleepy is a bit different. Sleepy is the need to close your eyes and really just fall asleep. You can get sleepy without really exhausting your body. As long as you wake up long enough, maybe you are really just watching TV, reading books, you're not really carrying stuff, you're not driving the whole day, but you're just staying awake, right? Staying awake alone can make you sleepy. So Of course, if you exercise, if you exhaust your body more, you tend to be tired. Tired will also lead you to feel more sleepy, but you should naturally feel sleepy as long as you wake up long enough. So the fact that you have difficulty falling asleep at night suggests that something is wrong. And so for people who have difficulty falling asleep, my message here is that there's something in your way of living your life that needs to be corrected, probably. Okay. So the sense of sleepiness actually is a result of some chemical reactions in the brain, right? Throughout the day, our body will have to convert the food that we eat into energy for us to use. In the process of this conversion from sugar, right, to energy, this conversion process will actually cause certain chemical to build up in your brain. And when this chemical hits a certain level in your brain, you will naturally fall asleep. And you actually need to allow yourself to sleep in order for yourself to sort of like get rid of that chemical in order for you to feel fresh and to wake up again. And the problem with sleep is that a lot of people, it's not that they are not sleepy. They actually feel the urge, the need to sleep. They just cannot fall asleep, right? So that's the thing that we really want to address, because you shouldn't need to do anything extra for yourself to fall asleep. Sleep should happen naturally. But if you can't fall asleep, there are a few possibilities. Number one, it can be because of certain kind of brain problem, brain damage, right? Your brain lost the ability to regulate that sleep cycle. Now, another possibility is irregular sleep schedule. So because maybe you work like you work in shift, sometimes you need to wake up in the morning, sometimes you need to wake up in the night, and this constant irregular shift in your work schedule cause your brain to be a bit confused as to when should you allow yourself to sleep, right? It can also be lifestyle problems. You have probably heard of people saying that if you have daytime nap too much, it's more difficult for you to sleep at night. That's actually true. For some people, eating too much, eating too little can cause difficulty in sleep. That's also true. So most of the time, by improving your lifestyle, you can actually fall asleep better. Another reason why people have difficulty falling asleep may be related to medical condition. So for example, people with pain conditions, with chronic pain. So if you have experienced some form of sprained ankle before or back pain before, you may notice that you actually wake up in the middle of the night because of the pain, right? So certain medical conditions can cause people to have difficulty sleeping. One of the most relevant one is actually mental health condition. We know that people who are in a lot of stress, people who are depressed, people who are anxious tend to have difficulty falling asleep, even if they are emotionally very, very tired. Okay. Now, the good news is that most of these problems can actually be treated, except for the first one. So for some people who may be having sleep difficulty for a long time, right? You may be relying on sleep medication to help yourself fall asleep. Some of you may even wonder if it's possible for you to one day get rid of your sleep medication. So I'm here to tell you that as long as your sleep problem is not due to the first type, there is a good chance that you will be able to sleep again naturally. Of course, you need to do something about it. You probably need to get treatment. You probably need to get someone to work with you on your sleep issues, but it is possible. All these irregular schedule, lifestyle problem, medical conditions, and mental health conditions can potentially be improved. So another way to think about this is that if you are relying on sleeping pill to sleep, and the sleeping pill does help you to sleep, chances are you can also sleep without the sleeping pill. You just have to learn how to do it. Because for the first type of problem, brain disorder and brain damage, even medications can't really help. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So for most people, and this first type is really, really, really rare. In my 10 years of clinical experience, I've actually not met even one. But I know they exist because I read it from textbook. But in real life, I've never seen a person with this, but I know that they do exist. chances are, if you can fall asleep sometimes you have difficulty falling asleep, sometimes cannot, you are not the first type. Because if you are the first type, you probably really wouldn't fall asleep at all. Okay. Now, so another question that people often wonder is, how can I sleep like a child? How can I go back to my previous sleep pattern? I get this often from mothers. So I remember one client that I worked with, she told me that her sleep has never returned to normal since she gave birth to her kid. And her kid is already now like teenagers. They don't need to wake up in the middle of the night for milk. They don't bother parents like in 3 a.m. But still, the mother said that she can no longer sleep soundly through the night. And she noted that it was since giving birth. So then she wondered, right? Now that I don't need to wake up in the middle of the night to take care of my baby anymore, is there any way that I can go back to my usual sleep pattern, which was about 20 years ago, right? So unfortunately, my answer to her is no, you can't go back, okay? You can't sleep like a child again unless you're a child. Because for normal human beings, our sleep pattern will change as we age. You'll notice, right? We often think that we have to sleep for 8 hours a day, right? And the best time to sleep is from 11 p.m. to, let's say, 6 a.m. There's always this kind of general beliefs that people have about sleep. It's just like some people believe that we need to drink 8 cups of water a day. That is actually not exactly true. So these general guidelines, they are actually not universally true. They are generally based on average. So scientists have done a lot of studies. They've studied people who sleep a lot, who sleep too little, and then they find an average and tell you that, oh, so on average, this is the right thing to do. But all of us human beings, we are unique in our own way, right? Yes, there's an average guideline, but no, some people actually need more than 8 hours of sleep. Some people actually don't even need 6 hours of sleep, and they can function exactly fine. Another important thing is that our sleep pattern will naturally change as we age. Babies, right? They, even if you're trying to wake them, they will still have to sleep about 16 hours a day, right? And as you grow older, as babies grow older, they will naturally sleep less and less. And then their sleep schedule will sort of like get adjusted to their parents, right? To their lifestyle. And at a certain age, their sleep cycle will be different from their parents. So for example, teenagers, when they reach teenage, they can stay up late, much later than their parents do. Sometimes they can stay up till 3 a.m. And the next day, of course, they will sleep in late. But research has actually shown that teenagers, and this is quite universal, yeah, teenagers tend to have a later kind of sleep schedule. They feel sleepy at a later time, and then their waking kind of cycle is also a few hours later than adults. And that is why at one point, adults all tend to get frustrated with their teenage children for going to bed too late and waking up too late as well. Now science is telling us that this may perhaps be neurological. Okay, of course, it is very hard for us to say for sure that teenagers naturally, their brain will sleep later, because we also know that teenagers live in a certain kind of environment and lifestyle where they are very likely to sleep later, maybe because of games, of TV, of their friends chatting on their phone and so on. But this is quite universal. When we look at different population from different countries, different teenagers, they tend to have this similar phenomena where they sleep later and wake up later. So it makes sense for us to understand about what is the usual sleep pattern. For older people, they generally sleep less, right? This general idea of sleeping 6 to 8 hours, for some old people, maybe 4 hours of sleep is really enough for them. And because they're so fixated that they need to sleep for 6 to 8 hours, they feel like they're not getting enough sleep. But research is telling us that for elderly, 4 hours of sleep is actually the norm. A lot of elderly only sleep for 4 hours and they are functioning fine. Okay, so if you have any doubts about sleep yourself, feel free to type down in the chat comments, okay? I will try to answer to my knowledge best. Now, this is something that probably your bosses, hopefully not lah, right? Would say if you have a very important task to do. Some people are very proud of the fact that they don't need to sleep a lot. They will say that, oh, you have to sleep so much, you are, weak. I am older than you. I can sleep less. I can even stay up late the whole night and I can complete my task. They view the ability to not sleep, right, as something to be proud of. And then they basically show off about their ability to burn midnight oil. They are so task oriented. So just sacrifice a few nights of sleep. So what, as long as you get the task done? Well, for these people, right, you're right. If it's really just a few days, you are compromising your sleep, that's fine. But trust me, if you do it more than a few days, right, you're probably going to die very, very early. This is something not to be taken lightly. And I have seen a lot of people I believe that people nowadays are getting more and more aware of the importance of sleep. But there was a time, and really when I was studying, some adults were really sort of like reprimanding us teenagers for sleeping too much. And they said that they can stay up late, they can do all these things, they can sacrifice their sleep, and they see sacrificing sleep as a virtue because you're committed to your work. I'm here to say that this is the wrong type of attitude to have. You should never compromise sleep. Okay? There are two ways that people can compromise sleep. One is that they just sleep less for a few hours. Like they usually sleep for 8 hours, but because of work, they only sleep for 5 hours. They work for 3 hours additionally, right? So they do that for a few nights until they complete their task. There are people who also just stay up late until it's morning again. So they just work through the night and then they don't sleep and then they continue to work. So the first type is what we call partial sleep deprivation. So the term is a bit technical, but what it means is that you are sleep deprived, you don't get enough sleep, but you still get some sleep. That's called partial sleep deprivation. The second type is called complete sleep deprivation, where you really don't sleep for the whole night. Okay? Now, if you really, really need to burn midnight oil, you really have tasks that are so important that you have to get done by a certain date, you can allow yourself to have a few days, hopefully not more than 3 days of partial sleep deprivation. Sleep a few hours less. Acceptable, understandable. But never, never allow yourself to go like the whole night not sleeping. Don't allow yourself to not sleep for more than 24 hours. Because if you have seen cases like you have read on news that some kids died in front of their computer after gaming for 3 days, that's generally the result of complete sleep deprivation. If you don't sleep for like really zero sleep for 24 hours, there is a chance that you may start to get hallucination and delusion. You may start to see things, you may not be able to think clearly. And after a few days, your body can be failing and you can die. Okay, so never allow yourself to not sleep for more than 24 hours. So find every opportunity. If you are really, really busy, find every opportunity to maybe just take an hour or two kind of rest. If you have seen the lifestyle of celebrities like actors and so on, sometimes when they are working, they may have to go on for a few days. Like they have to be on set for a few days, then only they can go home and really rest. So the way that they compensate is also like that, right? During break time, they just close their eyes, sleep for maybe half an hour, 20 minutes, or they sleep when someone is putting on makeup for them. Those are the ways that you can probably cope with it. But again, those kind of lifestyle is not one that you should aspire to live, right? Really make sleep a routine, make sleep a rule. Sleep is not something that you can sacrifice. You can sacrifice food, okay? You can eat less, but you cannot sleep less. Okay, so how do you know if you are not sleeping enough? I want you to think about this question, right? How do you judge? How do you know when you're not sleeping enough? And my guess is, so I will allow you for about 15 seconds to think about this, okay? So continue to send in your questions to me. I will address them in a bit. I'm actually monitoring the chat. So how do you know that you are not sleeping enough? Think about this. I will give you about 10 seconds. Okay, you don't necessarily have to type it down, but my guess is for the most of you, your answers will be somewhere along the line of, if you wake up feeling unfresh, if you wake up feeling drowsy, feeling still very sleepy, right? If you wake up feeling weak, if you wake up feeling grumpy, if you sleep less than 8 hours. Most people will evaluate the quality of their sleep based on how they feel when they wake up. Okay. Similarly, even if you don't sleep enough, like let's say you just sleep for 2 hours, but you wake up very fresh, you will probably still feel that, oh, I had a pretty good nap just now. I slept pretty well just now. A lot of us depends on the way we feel to determine whether our sleep quality is good enough or not. But I'm here to tell you that this is not exactly the right way, because you can still feel drowsy even if you have had enough sleep, even if your sleep quality is good. And you can sometimes still feel fresh even if you are severely deprived of sleep, right? So the way you feel when you wake up doesn't necessarily indicate the quality of your sleep. However, the way you feel about your sleep, right, will affect your daily functioning. So let's say, right, you actually didn't have good quality sleep. You didn't sleep enough. Okay. But when you wake up, you feel fresh. You feel that, oh, I slept pretty well. Throughout the day, your performance is likely to be better because you believe that you slept well. Conversely, even if you had enough sleep, you slept for more than 8 hours, and if we look at the brain scan, your sleep is pretty normal and stuff and so on. But when you wake up, you feel, I didn't sleep enough. I'm still grumpy. Chances are your performance, especially in the morning, will be affected. Okay, so how you feel about your sleep doesn't indicate your quality, but how you feel about your sleep will affect your performance, especially in the morning. I hope that makes sense. Now, for scientists, the way we know whether someone's sleep is enough is by looking at their brain functioning, especially their attention and their memory. Because we know now that sleep is mainly for the brain. Sleep is something that we do to help the brain regrow, not only just regenerate. So our cells die at every moment, right? Our brain cells die as well. So in order for our brain cells to grow, we will have to sleep in order for that to happen. And that is why you see children, they are at an age where their brains grow very fast and their brains are growing so rapidly that they need to sleep all the time. And when human beings grow a bit older, our brains also grow a bit slower, and therefore the need for sleep is also lowered somewhat. If you really look at the rate of our brain development and brain growth, it is actually quite correlated with the need for sleep. Younger kids, their brains grow a lot, therefore they need a lot of sleep. At the age of about 20 plus, our brain's growth rate is about that. And our sleep requirement is also stable for the next 20, 30 years. But when we reach the age of about 60, for example, our brains actually don't grow so much anymore. In fact, the death rate of our brain cells is actually higher, faster than our brain growth rate. And therefore, eventually you will see some shrinkage in your brain mass, right? And therefore, the requirement for sleep is also reduced. So here, the main point that I'm making here is that sleep is for brain development. And therefore, if we see problems in your brain development, we would suspect that it's because of sleep. Okay, not so much to do with whether you wake up fresh or not. So how can we sleep better? I've already mentioned to you the factors affecting sleep, lifestyle related and so on. So naturally, you know that exercising, learning how to relax your mind, relax your body, monitoring your food, know what you can eat and what you can't eat. At this point, there is actually no very clear kind of evidence saying that eating this will help you sleep better or things like that. People tend to believe in that, but there's actually not a lot of clear evidence. But if you find that after maybe drinking hot milk, you can sleep better, by all means do it, right? You can try different things, but you just need to monitor your own food. So for me, for example, coffee really doesn't affect at all. I can drink espresso, double shot at night, I will still be able to sleep. But for some people, if they had one coffee in the morning, they may not be able to sleep at night, like my mom. Okay, so you have to monitor your own food. But the most important thing here is to train your brain to know when it is bedtime. Because sleep, as I mentioned, is a natural phenomena. You will naturally feel sleepy, you will naturally fall asleep. And this is regulated by your brain. So the way to help you sleep better is actually to train your brain to be able to differentiate sleep time and non-sleep time, to live your lifestyle in a way that is clear to your brain that, oh, okay, when it is 11 p.m., it is time to sleep. And in the modern day society, the reason why this is a problem is because we have invented light. We can now control our temperature with aircon. We can now simulate a nighttime environment even if it is daytime. So even in the past, right, when it is daytime, it is just hot, right? Because the sun is up and there is no aircon. And even if you have a fan, the fan is blowing hot air. So in daytime, the temperature is warmer, right? And it's bright. But now, even in daytime, we can close our curtain, we can turn on our aircon, and then we can keep ourselves in an environment that can confuse our brain as to whether it's day or night. Even during nighttime, when things are supposed to be dark, we can turn on our light, and our brain will not be able to differentiate when it's daytime, when it's nighttime. So the idea of improving sleep is actually to work with our brain, to understand how brain works, and then to live our lifestyle in a way that is clear to our brain.